Hi, I'm Sandi Genovese, and today we're looking at how to make a vacation scrapbook. Here's the little scrapbook that we're going to make, and you can see that because it's for vacation, I've just created some hand cut and die cut elements to represent the summer. And then inside, I have it divided into 6 pages because generally for me, the half of the first day is spent with travel and half of the last day is spent with travel. So I usually end up with like 6 days of actual events and things that can actually, the fun things that happen on vacation. So I've decided to divide my book into those 6 pages. When you go behind the page, then I have the white pages that will be where I'll put the photos, the souvenirs, the journaling. All of that information will start to happen on these next interior pages. And how many of these interior pages are totally up to how many photos that you have. The beauty of making this kind of album yourself is it completely customizes itself. If you have one day when you have a lot of photos or lots of souvenirs, and another day where you went and did one thing all day and you have very few, you can make your scrapbook have a lot of pages for one day and hardly any pages for the next day. The beauty of customization. We're going to start with, first of all, the cover. And my covers are 8 1/4 inch squares. So I have blue paper that I've just cut. It's tagboard actually, and if you want it super thick, you could actually do a couple of layers. But it's just an 8 1/4 inch square. The tabbed pages, what I did was I discovered that it was easier to do the tabbed pages. It's not actually easier, but I wanted there to be a little bit of clearance. When you look at the cover, it's a tiny bit bigger so that there's a little jiggle room. If this was the last page of the book, you can see how this way you have just a little bit of room, a little bit of play here. So while the covers are 8 1/4 inch squares, these interior tabbed pages are 8 inch squares. So you'll start with 8 inch squares. And I'm going to show you with the red one, and then all the other colors would be done the same. In order to figure out where to cut out these notches, in order for this tab to be equidistant from the next one, and that to be equidistant from the next one, and so on, because I started with 8 inch squares, it doesn't divide very easily by 3. So I thought the easiest way would be for you to just take a piece of copy paper, and since my tab pages are 8 by 8, you want to start with a square. This paper is 8 by 8, and what you want to do is you want to start by folding it into thirds, and then take your thirds and divide each of these sections into half. So just lining up with my first fold lines, I'm going to go back and divide each of these sections into half. So start with thirds and then divide each of those thirds into halves. So you'll end up with 6 fold lines. And then I find it easiest to go back with pencil or a marker, something to give me a visual guide that's a little stronger than just a fold line for where I need to put where these are going to actually line up. And if I lay this down, you'll see what I mean. See how my pencil line is indicating where I'm going to need to cut, or where I'm going to mark each of these tab pages. So I started with a tabbed page that's an 8 inch square, and then I've taken my pencil and with a ruler I've come in 3/4 of an inch and just drawn a pencil line. Once you do that, then I'm going to use these as my guide to mark where that first line is going to go. So I've marked it, and if I use it to mark here, and I've actually drawn it with a pencil, now I can go back either with scissors or with a paper cutter and cut away everything except the top portion of the tab. the first sixth. So I'm gonna mark this, trim this, and then I would go back and erase any pencil that still shows. And you can see how it's going to give you the first tab. You're going to do the same thing, just use the second mark for where you mark the second page. Use the third line for where you mark the tab on the third page, and keep going until you have all of the tabs. When you get to the final page, there is no tab. It's just what remains, what's left showing. So you end up with 6 tabs that are spaced pretty close to being in sixths. And at this point, all I did when you look back at mine is I just used stickers to mark 1 through 6 on the tabs that are exposed. I used a stencil to label day 1. So if I lay my stencil over there, you can see this is how I used there's the D, there's the A. So I used a stencil in order to use a white pen, and then I just drew using the same stencil to indicate day 1, day 2. If you look here, I want these tabs to show. So my interior pages are even a different size. It's still 8 inches this way, but it's 7 1/4 inch this way, because the 3/4 that I came in for the tab needs to remain exposed. So all of your interior pages have this 3/4 inch trimmed off. So they're going to be 8 by 7 1/4. Once you have the white pages, the tabbed pages, and the covers cut, we're going to look at binding. So the binding, I used a system that I picked up at Staples. You can also get it online. Online it's called Roll-A-Bind, and Staples calls it ARC. If you look here in the corner, you can see this is the name they call it. It's a little hard for me to show you and still see what I'm doing, but let's see how well I can do this. What you want to do is you want to take the interior pages, and the tabbed pages are all 8 inches tall. This binding edge is the same on all the inside pages and the tabbed pages. So you want to set up this machine so that where it cuts is going to have an even amount of spacing. And here is the end. When this end has the same amount left over on this edge, is the same amount left as this edge, then that means that you have it even. And it doesn't have to be exact, but just fairly close. So what I'm going to do is push this until it's all the way at the back. I have a couple pages inside. It will cut several at once. So I've punched out the pages for what will be those interior pages. Now I'm going to do 3 pages for the first 3 tabbed pages and punch out those pages, and then I'm going to bring and punch out the last 3 tabbed pages. Each time I just make sure I'm tucked against this guide and against the back. So I now have all of my tabbed pages so they line up, and if I open this up and I put a white page in here and a white page in here, when I tamp these all together, you can see these all line up. Well, if you have your covers the exact same size, it would be easy. You'd just do the same thing. Remember, I decided, silly me, I wanted to make the covers just a little bit bigger. It's a 1/4 inch bigger, which means there's going to be an 1/8 inch more that shows, and it's more obvious when I set these up and you look at this. See how there's an 1/8 inch edge on both edges? That means that I need to change my guide just a hair in order to have this now sit in the middle. So instead of it sitting, this guide sitting here, it needs to move just a little this direction. And I'm going to turn it to me so I can see, and then I'll turn it back and show you. So at this point, if I turn it back, what I've done is just moved it so that it now looks like I have an even border on this edge and this edge. And it may not be exact, but pretty close. So now I have that marked. When I go back and I say, all right, here's the front cover, here's the back cover, here are all the interior pages. We're going to look at decorating this, but I thought first I would show you how to put a few of these pages together. All you need to do is take these little discs and they slide right over the notches. So you can do a few pages at a time. Notice how I'm just doing, I don't know, maybe 3 pages, 3 or 4 at once. You probably can do more than that, but it's working. So basically, you end up with these that move freely. I'll do one more so you can see. I'll just do the one next to it. So I'll take the first, I don't know how many pages this is, 3 or 4, and I'm trying to do this so my hand's not in the way. Slide this in between the notches like so. And then I'm just going to continue, try to turn this toward you, to add in more of the pages, 3 or 4 at a time. So it's that easy for you to go back and add the binding to the pages. Now, to look at the decoration on the album itself, what you'll see is, as I mentioned, I've just picked summer themed embellishments. So what I have are squares, and each of the white squares are 2 3/4. So I cut 4 squares that are 2 3/4 of an inch, and then each of the colored squares that sits on top are 2 1/4. So every one of the sections is a colored square sitting on white, and then it has an embellishment sitting on top. So to show you, I've added a white cap to this wave, and I'm going to fasten it so that it attaches to the red. I'll put adhesive on the back, and I'm going to go pretty close. I think I'm going to go all the way to the edge, except I want there to be some color on this to show. So at this point, I'll turn it over and I'll just trim off the excess. And now I would put, actually this is paper that's been Xyron, so all I have to do is peel the backing off of this and center it on the larger white square. And you can see how you're going to create the elements. I've used different die cuts. So for the sun, I have an orange square, a sun which I'm going to just cut a portion of it, and I'm going to stack these colored circles, and that will sit in this square. And then I have a flip-flop. What summer vacation would be complete without flip-flops? So that's going to go here, and then I'm going to have a portion of a palm tree. Well, let me just show you. If we look back at the finished one, you can see I've got the flip-flop, I've got the palm tree with some coconuts, there's the sun once it's been trimmed, and there's part of the wave border. So you can see how quick and easy something like this can go together. You know, you can organize a vacation scrapbook into daily chapters for a really quick and easy photo project. Remember, I love hearing your comments. Be sure to share us with your crafting and your scrapbooking friends. You can like us with a thumbs up on Facebook. Don't forget to sign up for these free weekly videos. However, if you want access to hundreds of past episodes, or if you want to be able to print an instruction sheet, then you might want to consider joining the Gold Club. Bye for now.